Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers in Coffee. And this week, I'm absolutely delighted to be welcoming David and Tony to talk to us a little bit more about the creative sector and spotlighting the new Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich. So let's bring them both on. Gents, welcome. How are we both doing today?
You're on mute, Tony. It's a good start.
Straight on it.
That went well. I'm okay, though clearly not on top of the tech.
No worries. Gents, it's lovely to have you on. I think creative sector is one of the big creatives to be hit during the last, crikey, however long it's been going on for now. But tell us a little bit, because I know you've got some fantastic work going on at the new Wolsey, but before we get onto that, kick off, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. Tony, going to go over to you first.
Thank you. Well, I'm Tony, and I'm head of creative communities at the new Wolsey. And what that really means is I'm responsible for all the work that we do with young people, with schools, and with local communities. I also do a little bit of producing, budgeting, managing, directing, anything that needs doing, really.
Fantastic. And over to David or Mr. P.
Hello, my name's David Phillips, also known as Mr. P. I am the head of production here at the new Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich, and it's basically my job to make sure the creative team, directors and all the designers and all those creative people are well supported during the time here of making shows. I make sure the set turns up and is built. I make sure lights are in the air, pointing at the stage, and look after all those sort of technical and backstage elements.
Fantastic. And what's it been like inviting folks back into the theatre in terms of sort of huge capacities rather than, what had happened previously? How's that been for you folks?
I'll go first. It's been interesting. I mean, the run up to the first couple of Panther performances, I think we're up to about Panther performance number 4. We've got a press and guest night tonight. Having full houses of 400 odd people in the auditorium has been quite emotional for some people. Just to have that collective experience, and ultimately theatre is about a lot of people sitting in a room enjoying something and interacting with that thing. So it's been it's been really interesting and really nice to have people back. There's a real sense of normality in the building. I'll hand over to Tony.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw the show last night, and it was really lovely to sit in an auditorium full of people having a really, really nice time. Feels like quite a long time since we've been able to do that in the way that we did it before. I mean, we were quite lucky. We did a panto last Christmas, where I think we were probably only one of the very few theatres in the country that managed to do their whole run. And Mr. P and his team and the creative team have done a brilliant thing, I think, over this Christmas and last, where our panto is actually blended. So you have live action on a stage, and you also have short films that have been made and are inserted into the show in the theatre. But also, if you're watching it at home, because we live stream the performances, you go from watching a version of the show being recorded on the stage to a full screen short film, which is part of the experience, and I think it's brilliant. It's added a new dimension in terms of access, because it means more people can see the show than previously could, and it doesn't just feel that we're pointing a camera at a stage. There's some real thought and artistry and resources gone into making it a separate and really exciting experience. And as a building, we've been open for quite a long time, in one way or another. We did a lot of outdoor work over the summer, which we'd never done before on the scale that we did it, which was fantastic. And the stuff I'm mainly responsible for, working with young people, we've had our youth theatres back in the room since the beginning of the autumn. So we've had to put some things in place so people feel safe, and make sure that we're COVID secure, which we are across the entire building. But it's also been really interesting in terms of the way it's forced us to think about how we work with people, and we've kind of tried to use all of the restrictions as a provocation to the artists that we work with to think more deeply about how they do the things that they want to do, rather than as barriers. And it's been exciting, difficult but exciting.
And did you both always want to go into the creative sector, or have you sort of fallen into it? Go to David on that one.
Mine's an interesting one. I did my work experience at my local regional theatre when I was 14. I always knew I wanted to work backstage in theatre, and when I was 16, I knocked on the door of my local council-run venue and to find out if they got any jobs, and they took me on as a member of casual staff, and I've stayed in the industry ever since. So I've been working in the industry since I was 16, and I've got no degree, I've got no university education or anything like that. So I always knew, basically. So I'm very, very lucky that I was very definite from a very early age.
Fantastic. Tony, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was very young, but I think now that's probably because I just like the idea of dressing up in a wig. But yeah, I did plays at school, and I went to drama school when I was 18, and I worked as an actor till I was in my mid-30s. And then I was offered lots of really amazing opportunities by some of the companies I was working for, to work with young people, and that got me interested in directing. And I'd come to a place in my life where I started a family, and I didn't want to be away from my newborn son. His first year of his life, I was on tour as an actor for 9 months. I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was always more interested in rehearsals than I was interested in performance. I got bored when I was doing long runs of shows. And I just started to be handed the chance to organize things, think about the way that we could engage with different people in different ways. And as soon as that started to happen, it was like, oh no, this is actually what I like. So I sort of segued into working as a practitioner, and then as a manager and a producer. And I'm really lucky, I think, because I get a very rich and varied set of things to do and think about.
And what do you feel makes sort of Ipswich and Suffolk such a great place to be when it comes to the creative sector? Who wants to tackle that one?
Go P.
Is that me going first? I mean, I think we're. It's interesting. There is. I mean, Ipswich has a lot of NPOs, which are funded NPO, National Portfolio Organisations. Big jargony thing, but basically, there has a lot of groups who are funded to create work. So it's Ipswich is a really great and interesting sort of creative place. You're also, and this can sometimes be a negative thing. We're an hour from London on the train. So there's a real chance to work with in and out of London, and for people to come up and see what we're doing, all that sort of stuff. And it's I think it's also Ipswich in itself, and the towns in Suffolk are quite self-contained, and there's quite an interesting sort of art scene in each one of those sectors, and that we can jump. We don't share an audience with Bury St Edmunds, so we can make a show here and take it to Bury St Edmunds, which is like 20 minutes up the road. We don't share an audience. It's quite an interesting part of the country because you've got all of these towns with their very own identities. You've got like things like the First Light Festival in Lowestoft, and Lowestoft has its own thing going on, and Aldborough has its own thing going on. So there's all sorts of really interesting bits and pieces which are all dotted around the county.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with all of that. I also think we're really lucky here because we're very well supported by the county council as a kind of arts sector. You know, they believe in the role of culture in supporting the well-being of local people, and also as a sort of engine of regeneration. That's some of the most interesting stuff I think that's happening at the moment, is how do you think about the way that we're going to continue to need to reimagine our high streets as retail disappears. And as I say, I think the county council do a fantastic job of always making sure that culture and cultural organisations are involved in those conversations.
Brilliant. And we've just got a question in. So what's been your highlight in your career so far? Stick with you on that one for now, Tony.
I directed a show a while ago that was nominated as one of the top 10 shows in the country that year by the Daily Telegraph. That was fun. I got nominated for a Golden Rose at the Montreux Television Festival. That was good. But I also really enjoyed some of the littler things that I've done. You know, I've directed shows with young people where I've managed to help them to get somewhere that they didn't think they could go. And that's always really satisfying when, you know, you work with people and they pull something out of the bag that surprises you and surprises them. It's fantastic.
That's brilliant. And David, what about yourself?
Oh, and there are hundreds. I mean, there are absolutely hundreds, and it depends on which sliding scale. Whether it be shows with what I had done with famous people who turned out to be nice people, or just sort of amazing coups of theatre. I mean, probably my favourite at the moment is the Wolsey toured a production of The Who's Tommy, which we created with Ramps on the Moon. So Ramps on the Moon is a group of 6 regional theatres plus Grey Eye Theatre Company, and it's about normalising disability within mainstream theatre. So we toured a new version of The Who's rock opera, or there is a rock opera, isn't it, Tommy, around the country, and it was just the most amazing experience with a huge diverse mix. I had a assistant stage manager who was deaf. I had a sound person who was a wheelchair user. I mean, it was just the most inspiring trip around the country. And then we got to our final performances at Sheffield, and Pete Townsend, who wrote the piece, Pete Townsend of The Who, popped on stage and was part of the Q&A with the rest of the acting company to answer questions from the audience. And there was just a real sort of wonderful moment where it was all there in front of you, and we very nearly had a West End transfer out of it, but unfortunately the money never quite stacked up. But yeah, that's probably my high point so far, but there are many high points.
That sounds fantastic. And we've just got another question. So how does a young person get into working in the creative industry? Is there a straightforward career path? I'm guessing perhaps not. David, do you want to take that one?
Okay, so my career path is not formal. I'm not very clever. So at 16, I got casual work at my local theatre, and I worked really hard, and they offered me a job. But I basically got experience and got into the industry that way. At the moment, I have people who come and join us through schemes that we run, like Young Technicians, which is a short course that people come in, and then we perhaps take them on as casual workers here. And then I've got people who have gone off to drama school and have done. You can do technical theatre courses at drama school, and there are various different drama schools that sort of fit various people. But I also know people who've literally leapt straight into the industry as well, and have basically, if you're good and you work hard and you want it, and this is the thing about this industry, you don't have to have a degree, but you have to want to work in this industry and want to work hard. You can. It is possible, and it's not all about the academia of it. It's about it's also really great for people who are not sort of academic on paper, but are really good thinkers, very good mechanical thinkers. Certainly from our side, very practical people. You've also got to be able to communicate. You need to have good communication and personal skills, because you're all working together for 11, 12, 13-hour days. But it's absolutely possible to get into certainly the production side and to the sort of artistic creative side without a formal high level further education qualification.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, David. And Tony, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think what do I think? My route was through drama school, because I'm not academic. So I went and sort of auditioned, did a speech for somebody, and they took me on to train as an actor. But I don't have an academic degree, so and I wasn't very clever at school, frankly. So I think Mr. P's right. It's about hard work. It's about really wanting it. It's also about realizing there's lots and lots of different jobs in a theatre. It's not just about backstage or being on stage or being a creative. At the new Wolsey Theatre, we have a whole department which is dedicated to marketing. We have a whole department which is dedicated to finance. We have front of house and hospitality. So you can be involved in the creative industries in lots and lots of different ways, and there's lots and lots of different routes to getting into working with an organization like ours. We're also getting a lot better as an industry, and I think I think it's safe to say we're industry leaders in recognizing that for a lot of people there are barriers to getting involved, and that might be about their background, or they might be disabled, and we work really hard to try and make it work for people who want to come and work with us. So for example, really good example of this is we're taking on hopefully 2 young people through the government's Kickstart program to work across the whole organization, and both of those young people, to a greater or lesser extent, come from marginalized backgrounds, but we're working really hard with them to identify a way of putting a program together that they're going to benefit from, because we want all sorts of different people working in our industry. There's a bit of a myth that you have to be posh, and and that's a bit true for some people, but it's a really great, fun, welcoming community to become a part of if you don't mind working hard. And there's lots of different ways that you can get involved.
Brilliant responses. Thank you both. And next question is an interesting one. So how do you know that a show will be successful at the first readings, rehearsal, or once some of those ticket sales start hitting? Who wants to take that?
You never know. It's always a leap of faith, and sometimes we disagree. I loved it. I thought it was rubbish.
I think there are certain things there. I mean, there's certain traditions. So like the Wolsey Rock and Roll Panto, that's a fair, as long as it hits certain levels of quality and everything else. I think that's a fair shoe in that will work as a sales through sales and everything else. But Tony's absolutely right. I mean, no, but if people knew what that. Then they would be, we'd not need funding from central government. We'd just be putting on shows that we knew would sell. So, yeah.
And sometimes you've got to take risks. You've got to try and do something differently.
And we've just got another question. So what skills, qualities and qualifications are you looking for on applications and CVs? Who wants to go with that?
P?
Yeah, I mean, we collect all and sundry. People, we get emailed from schools, from various people going, I want to get involved, I want to shadow, that sort of stuff. What I'm looking for is enthusiasm. What I'm looking at for is a level of what's the best way of putting it? You've got to be able to work in a team. You've got to be relatively personable. And you've got to want and be interested in it. But I mean, other than that, that's your starter for 10. And it is interesting. I mean, it's exactly what Tony said. There are so many avenues. Perhaps the best way, if you're thinking about a career in the creative industries, is to message people like us and go, can I come and shadow a couple of departments? Can I come and see what's going on? I mean, I've got about half a dozen emails in my inbox at the moment, which I'm working my way through, of people who just want to come in and see what we do. And I think that's really important, because everything we do is so specialized, but also, I find it all interesting, but I found my niche and I know what I'm interested in, but that could be something completely different from somebody else. But yeah, what you're looking for is good people skills, personable, and enthusiasm and interest in the industry itself, and not especially from our point of view, if you want to just come along because you want to be an actor, then that's really not. You're not going to talk to the head of production or any of the technical people backstage, but you might want to talk to Tony and talk about getting involved in young company or youth theatres or all that sort of stuff. So it's about where you want to get involved. But yeah, just drop us a line would be the best thing.
That's great advice. And Tony, a question for you. You do some fantastic engagement with schools. If I'm a school and I want, knock on the door, what sort of support can I get from the new Wolsey? What can I be involved in, workshops, activities, etc.?
Well, lots and lots of things. I mean, one of the things that we're doing at the moment, which is proving really popular, which is led by Mr. P's team, the production team, is something called Spotlight on Skills. So what we're doing is we're talking about the science curriculum through exploring the way that theatre uses light and sound and things that happen on stage, which we call materials. So we try and do a number of things. We try and support teachers to teach the curriculum through creative ways of looking at the things that they have to deliver. We also do a lot of stuff with schools around creative workshops around well-being. More and more these days, we're trying to use the skills and the artists that we work with to do things with schools and with young people that have a purpose beyond just getting involved in drama, because you can do that at school. There's lots of really good drama teachers around who are doing amazing things and putting on plays. So we're really interested in supporting and using our skills and agency to sort of support other things. But there's youth theatres, there's young company, as Mr. P's been talking about, which are great places to come and make new friends, work with professional artists, find out if it's for you. And I think the really important thing is that anything we do, we're always trying to achieve the same thing, which is to support young people's well-being, their self-confidence, their problem solving, all those sort of skills that you get through working as a team and creating, you know, creative projects together. And we'll always pick up the phone. So we're always really interested if a school has got an idea or a school has got something that they want to try and deliver, a problem to solve, and they think a creative approach to it might be the way forward. We'll always have a conversation. We can't do everything. We get inundated with requests, and it's of course always about time and money. But we're regularly funded from both the county council, the borough council, and the government, and it is part of our job to get out there and try and work with especially underrepresented groups and marginalized young people, but to support schools and be part of our local community and use what we've got to try and make, you know, this place a little bit better for everybody.
Good response. Thank you so much. And David, one last question for you, because I'm conscious of time. What does an average day look like? As you've said, 12-hour days a few times.
I mean, last week I did over 70 hours. So we were in what we call Tech Week. So on Monday, all the actors and the sets there and everything else is ready. And through that week, we piece together the show, all the technical elements, how you make a beanstalk grow, how you get a giant on and off, all that sort of stuff. And then on Thursday night, we show it to an audience. And it's hard work. And when I started in theatre, when I was a mere 17-year-old, one of my bosses said to me, right, here's your choice. Either you commit to this as a lifestyle choice, this industry, or you have your evenings and weekends and you go and do something else. And it's like a drug. That's the thing. It is a vocation. It is a lifestyle. It is a thing that you want to do. And days are long, but rewards are good. I don't think there's anything better, especially over this time of year on Christmas Eve and things like that, when you've got 400 people in there having the best time, and tomorrow it's Christmas Day and you're setting up their Christmas, or Boxing Day and everyone's come out. I mean, there's, you know, the reasons we do this are many and varied, but I think it's about a vocation and something you want to do rather than just working at behind the tills at Tesco's, which there is nothing wrong with, but it is about whether you go to work because you really love what you do, or you go to work to get some money so you can go out on a Friday night and get drunk at Revolution.
And P's absolutely right, but not everyone in the theatre works the crazy hours that he does. So, you know, there are positions in our organisation which are a bit more conventional, a bit more 9 to 5, and technicians are just crazy people, but they do amazing things. You know, they make it all possible. Well, can I just say one last thing, Jordan? Just as we were talking about schools and how they can engage with us, I just wanted to mention for any teachers watching, there's an organisation called the Ipswich Cultural Education Partnership. And that is a group of arts organisations, all the funded ones that Mr. P was talking about. So that includes the New Wolsey Theatre, that includes Dance East, that includes the local opportunity area, the county council. And that's really a great place to go if you're looking for some advice and support about how you can run creative projects with your young people. You know, there's funding available for certain things, and obviously we're a theatre, so if you're interested in doing visual art or dance, we're not the people to talk to. But if you talk to the ICEP, as we call it, they'll be able to hook you up with someone who can help you to create the projects that you're trying to create.
Great advice. Thank you so much. And both, it's been a pleasure, and I can definitely say, you know, it's great to have you back. And I'm sure it's, yeah, as you say, David, how exciting it is to be able to set someone's Christmas up like that. So, gents, huge thank you for coming on and joining us on Careers and Coffee today.
Thank you very much.
So, folks, that's Tony and David. Talk to us a little bit more about New Wolsey Theatre. Got some amazing stuff going on. Obviously, if you're schools and colleges, if you're interested, get in touch with them. We'll make sure we've got lots and lots of details as well to send across. So, again, huge thank you for them for joining us today.